was in late September. He was letting his body recover from the knee injury that nearly dashed his title dreams. Now he finds himself back in Milwaukee as the defending champ. But the constantly competitive two-time MVP probably won't want you to call him that. That's just who he is. Let him see if he can go win it again. Giannis and the Bucks will try to join some elite company this season. Since Michael Jordan's Bulls, only 4 teams have been able to repeat as champions. The Lakers twice with Kobe and Shaq, and then Kobe and Pau. Then the Heatles with LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to call it the Heatles again. And the Warriors with KD, Steph, and Clay. So Giannis' attempt to go back-to-back starts tonight versus Brooklyn. Zach, what are your expectations from him this season?
Here are some names. Magic Johnson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Moses Malone, Bill Russell. 8 names. Those are the 8 players who have won 3 MVPs in NBA history. I think a reasonable expectation for Giannis is make it 9. He's that good and he can do it.
Richard, what's your key to the game tonight?
Are you sure you want to hear from me?
I think I do.
All right, let's go to the board.
Oh, boy.
Let's go to the board. Now, Kurt, can you get up here without running out of breath?
Shots fired.
All right, so look, this is my key. As we mentioned, James Harden, and we talked about this on the show, James Harden is going to be my key to this. Why? Because James Harden, without Kyrie Irving, has to focus even more on the way he distributes. That is going to be more of an onus because you're missing 25 a night with Kyrie. You're missing a 50, 40, 90 guy. So that means it is up to James Harden to make sure all of these guys, look at that pass. My God, I never saw that before. You see Jeff Green's gone. But this is going to be important for James Harden. How can he score 25? You know what KD's going to do. You know KD's going to give you his 30. But this is where other guys get to eat, is the way that James Harden can not only do all the work, and even here, you got Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown has played the 2 through the 5 for the Nets. You see how he rolls there. So James Harden getting everybody involved, that is the key for the Brooklyn Nets. Perk, what's your keys for the Milwaukee Bucks?
I wouldn't say keys, but I'm going to say key. And the key person is Giannis Antetokounmpo, right?
Obvious.
And that's not settling for jump shots. That's being who he is, a dominant force in the pick and roll. Look at Drew Holiday drawing the double team because he know Clint Capella's in the drop. Nobody stopping Giannis going to the basket. Coming up again, dribble handoff slightly, getting a good screening angle, making Mikal Bridges go over Giannis, rolling to the basket. We know this strong side corner.
Yeah.
He really not supposed to help. He can't help. Nobody can stop Giannis when he's in that mode.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great matchup watching these two teams battle it out. These two teams are favored to win the championship. So ultimately, my idea with Perk, I'm glad you got up here without sweating. I'm glad you got up here without breathing so hard. But I really think that James Harden and his ability to get the Nets involved are going to be the key, ultimately, for the entire Nets season. Malika?
That's interesting, Richard. You mentioned James Harden, and since we talked about it on the show yesterday, Harden had a decision to make. The midnight deadline for his extension, it came and went. But before anyone freaks out, Harden can still sign a $270 million, 1 + 4 year max deal this upcoming summer to become the NBA's first $60 million man. So that's pretty interesting. But we do have a developing story revolving around Ben Simmons. He will not play for the Sixers tomorrow. The team announced earlier on Tuesday, that he has been suspended for 1 game for conduct that is detrimental to the team. So let's recap how we got here exactly. Back in June, Simmons only scored 5 points in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis and passed up a layup that prompted criticism from Joel Embiid and Coach Doc Rivers. And last month, he did not report to training camp, and on October 1st, the Sixers did not pay the 25% of his salary that was due. So Simmons then reported to training camp last week before today's events. And with more on that, now let's welcome in ESPN NBA reporter Tim Bontemps. Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for being here. Tim, you've been embedded. Maybe we might have Tim. Check. Hey, Tim, are you there?
The show.
All right. Well, we're just going to take another moment with Tim, let him get situated just a little bit. But I have Ramona Shelburne here. You've been following this all over. What more can you tell us?
Well, look, Ben Simmons showed up today, obviously, and was the last few days since he's reported to Philadelphia, he was not exactly an engaged, active participant. But he went, he did some drills. He went through the motions. Today, he refused to go in any of the drills. And I think this is a continuation of a longer theme here, Malika, which is this started last year in Game 7, but it really started before Game 7.
Interesting.
Okay? Before Game 7, Ben Simmons missed shoot-around. And he missed shoot-around because he had a close contact with a masseuse on the team who had an inconclusive COVID test. Okay? And had he been vaccinated at the time, close contact would not have forced him to sit out of practice or been held out. But at the time, he had to sit out. And a lot of his teammates sort of were looking askance at this, saying, did he really see the masseuse in the last couple of days? Okay? There were some questions raised about his willingness and eagerness to play in that Game 7, because as you know, Game 5 and 6 were pretty awful for Ben Simmons as well.
Right.
Shot 10 shots when he normally averages 11 shots a game. So 10 shots in 2 games, not wanting to go to the free throw line. And you see what happens at the end where he tries not to, he actively has a dunk. Trae Young's there. Trae Young's 6'1".
Right.
Ben Simmons is 6'10".
Right.
He can dunk the ball,
Mismatch.
but instead of dunking it, he passes out to Thibault. He hits 1 out of 2 free throws. But it started that morning. It really did, with his teammates looking at him saying, did you really?
Ben Simmons around the league.
Right.
Other teams know that this is part of an act. This is part of a process that Ben Simmons is going through to try to accelerate a trade. And you've got two sides here in Philadelphia and Ben Simmons. We're going to see when is the other side going to give in.
Well, and this is still a process that is ongoing, maybe a different process than Philadelphia has been involved in years past. Thank you so much, Woj.
Thanks,
we know there's going to be more coming out of this story. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Ben Simmons, he's been suspended for 1 game opening night against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now joined by Richard Jefferson, Zach Lowe, and Kendrick Perkins. So let's get up to the desk and dive right in. Kendrick, we're going to start with you. Simmons suspended 1 game. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, look, Doc Rivers walked into today ready for the action, and it started from yesterday. If people think Doc Rivers didn't realize what Ben Simmons was doing yesterday, having a cell phone in his pocket, being lazy, just going through the motions when they had him on the floor, people are crazy. And Doc Rivers, I know Doc, he walked in and he set him up. He walked in and he saw that Ben wasn't engaged, and so he called him in to get into a drill. And Ben declined. He called him again to get into a drill, and Doc was ready to throw him out. He lucky Doc Rivers didn't put them paws on him, because I saw him almost put them hands on Rondo one time.
So what do you mean when he said set him up? Okay, we'll get into that later.
What's up?
Set him up.
Well, what I'm saying was he walked into practice saying, you know what, let me see what his body language is like today. Because he let it ride yesterday. And so today he just wasn't having it.
And part of what you're referring to, right, is yesterday we see this footage of maybe it was a cell phone in his pocket or something else going on. So Zach, you heard Joel Embiid. We just heard him say that he wasn't here to babysit anybody. So what impact will Simmons have on Joel Embiid here?
I think Joel Embiid's done with it. I think he's been done with it, and I think he told us today, I'm really done with it. I mean, you got to give Joel Embiid some credit. His trash talk during all this has been borderline Shakespearean. He didn't get enough credit for when he said that line about when someone asked him, what do you want to see from Ben Simmons this season? He said, well, I'm sure you guys have all seen the videos on Instagram. We'd love to see some of that. So I think this is, I mean, he said, forget the babysitting thing. He said he hasn't had a conversation